Well, today is Sunday, the 14th of July. I'll be 80 in 6 more days, the 20th of July. I do have a listener out there that has a birthday the same month and the same day, different year. I don't know. I know how old I am. Sometimes I don't feel that way except when it rains, then my body aches like everything. Yeah, today's a nice sunny day, so it's an update for me for sure. There was one guy out there had asked me, about repainting a car that's got fish eyes. And, years ago, I had agreed to paint a car for somebody, and it was one of his friends' cars, if you believe it or not. Now, back then, I used to, if you had the car ready, I'd paint it for $15, $20. The labor, as long as you had it sanded, taped off, and ready to go. All I had to do was bring my compressor that was mounted on a trailer, and I would shoot it in your garage. Well, that guy, it was a Corvair he was painting for somebody else, and I have no idea what he charged him. Somebody that he worked with apparently. And I came in there and warned him about Corvairs usually have a lot of oil all over them. They have an engine mounted in the back, air-cooled engine, and they have these louvers in the, I call it the trunk. Some people don't, but that's what it is. It's the rear of the car, even though you lift it up to get to the motor. And back then Corvair was, it didn't last too long on the road. It was deadly at any, what do they call it? Deadly at any speed or something like that. Mr. Nader pretty much ended the career of a Corvair. And they were kind of a neat car. I had one at one time. It was a 1964 Corvair, and I really liked it. It handled nice. It was a good little car. Anyway, this sports car, this Corvair, he said, yeah, he'd wiped it all down. It was ready to go, no problems. He had it all taped off. So I came in there and painted it for him. And right away, it started getting fish eyes on it. And I knew right away he didn't get the oil film off that car. And I knew that this was going to be a real problem. It wasn't my problem, but I wasn't going to get paid for that paint job. That's what it amounted to, even though I warned him about it. So obviously he wanted to know what he was going to have to do to fix it. I said, well, better figure out a way to get all that paint off. And I said, then we're going to have to put some special primer on it. I used to use a paint that was kind of a tank sealer. It's called like a tie coat. And you put it on the raw metal that's been cleaned off. It has to be spotless before you try to put any kind of a paint on there, because no matter what kind of paint you put over raw metal, it seems to have problems somewhere down the line. And I believe you can get it just about anywhere from like Napa or Riley's or something like that. So that's what I would say to you if you're going to take it down to the raw metal. That's what you have to do. Now, also the other thing I told this guy was that back then we used lacquers and enamels, and I had told him to get some fisheye eliminator along with the paint, and he neglected to do that. He said he didn't think he would need it, and I said, well, okay. Back in there, they run about $7 for the amount to do a gallon of paint, and I felt that was good insurance. Now the paint itself back then was between $25 and $30 a gallon. A big difference between today and then. You pay 10 to 20 times difference in that paint today. And that's a lot of difference. The whole thing was actually in his lap, but obviously I didn't get paid for it. Now, he did take the paint off, used the paint remover on it, and on the louvers, you don't have any choice. It is a mess. And I did repaint the rear quarters and that trunk. And it did come out pretty decent. There was a couple fish eyes here and there. It shouldn't have been, but there was by the time we got done. And I ended up spending a lot more time on that than I would have 3 or 4 cars trying to get it. Now, Corvair is not a very big car, so. But the only thing I can tell you is do it right the first time, and find out what you're going to need for a tie coat for the paint you're going to put on there. There's several different types of paint out there, and the type of thinners you're going to use in it has to do with how quick you want to dry it and how warm it is out there and the whole thing. So sanitation is the thing, I guess. I know you're new at it, so get plenty of advice off YouTube. Don't take my word for it. I'm an old duffer, and I just piddle. I have painted some cars that, you know, they've got a little bit of metallic flake in them. My truck out here, when I was when I bought it, I also had a Lincoln that had pretty much the same color, and you know, it has a base. You know, you primer it. There's a base, and then there's a. It's almost like a clear coat that's got the metallic in it and flows out pretty nice, and it looks good. And it'll kind of cover some ills if you make some screw ups. But you gotta be careful you don't make it run. You can sand them out and buff them up and get rid of the runs. Sometimes depends if you have enough time for it to cure out. But the few times that I've used that type of paint, I've had good success with it. You gotta take your time. It's expensive. You make a mistake, you know, figure goodbye just for a little can. Goodbye 50 to 100 bucks for that little can. I don't know. Get some experience. Now, there are still people out there that paint with Rust-Oleum and stuff like that on the old classics. Doesn't hurt a thing. There again, you got to take your time. This time, if you use some of that old paint like that, you want to definitely use fisheye eliminator in it. They crater out pretty good if in those paints. I used to love to use lacquers because you could buff about anything out with a buffer the next day, or at least 24 hours later. I've done a lot of them that way, especially if people wanted them in a turnaround right away. The early candy apple colors, when I painted those were kind of tough sometimes. When you start layering your paint on 3 or 4 or 5 coats, it can get it's easy to orange peel, you know, when you're layering it on there like that. Also, if you get it out in the heat in the sun before it's cured up pretty good, it'll either crow's feet or bubble. So, you know, those old paints were kind of tough to handle. But today they're so expensive. My advice is get somebody to help you a little bit that's familiar with the type of spray gun and compressor. Any moisture at all in today's paints will really mess it up. It'll show up. You don't want your first job to be a bad one, that's for sure. So good luck out there. Yeah. What else have I got from the past couple of days? I was talking about my retirement. I was going to tell you about a house I bought and what we spent time on. We did buy a decent little home from the outside, a lot of junk in the yard and things like that. It cost a lot of money to get rid of that junk. There was 3 big roll-offs that was used to get rid of the stuff that was inside and outside. I did hire a crew to come in to do that for me. My wife and I put the stuff in the house, we put it in garbage bags as much as we could. We handled that part of it. But the carpet was bad. I had them pull up all the carpet. Just a lot of just plain junk, everything. In that particular house, every door in it was broke. Looked like the guy got mad at you, kicked his foot through it or his fist through it, depending on where the hole was at. And the walls had a lot of holes in them too. You know, when somebody's mad, when the house had been foreclosed on, it was a government subsidized house for, the loan was, and people couldn't keep up with payment, they foreclosed on it, and they literally destroyed the house before they left, which included plumbing, and then, the government didn't bother to have it winterized, and so, all the pipes froze in the house and broke. The water tank froze and broke, and when it broke, it went all over the floor, ruined the flooring in the hallway, a piece of the kitchen, and a little bit of the living room. What else did it do? Oh, it busted the water meter. So when I bought it, I had to buy all that brand new. I paid a plumber to come in and do it. You have to get permits to when you do a major remodeling, and I'm not authorized to do that anymore. Years ago, in another state, I had my insurance and the different towns I dealt with. I got my DBA in to register so that I could do business. But even on your own, when you do mechanical work, if you have an inspector in, somebody has to sign off on it that has a license. And so a good friend of mine that I know, and he came in and did the work. I don't think I got any particular big discounts. It was expensive. But I had him to do furnace and rebuild the air conditioner that's set outside, but brand new furnace inside, high efficiency. New ductwork in the return air duct. It didn't have return airs, except in one spot, and that was the central spot. Happened to be a part of the living room itself. The hallway and living room were kind of all one big room there, and so that's where it was at. My wife and I spent about 5 years on it. Maybe it wasn't much longer than that. And it was a dollhouse. We fixed it up so in case we wanted to, if we wanted to move into it. The house was quite a bit smaller than this one. It was around 1,000 square feet, and I think this house is almost 2,700 square feet, counting the attached garage. This garage isn't attached to the house, by the way. This sits 30 paces or so away from the house. Well, the house that we were working on was 35 miles away, so it was quite a drive to get there and back whenever I worked on it. We did the interior, rebuilt all the cabinets. We took everything, the cabinets and everything out completely. Part of the wiring was behind the walls, so I stripped the walls down in the kitchen. There was a wall that was a mechanical wall that used to be an exterior wall before an addition had been added onto the house. It had lowered itself when they cut the studs out to run plumbing. All the dumb things. The roof actually had a little depression in it there, and I brought in a roofer to. And even though it had a new roof, I was getting a few leaks up there. So I had the roofer come in, and I said, Dad, just fix it. Some of the sheeting up there had rotted out, it looked like, when I tore the ceiling out right there in that area. And the roofer was up there walking around, fell through the roof. There was quite a bit of rotten stuff up there. So that was a complete tear off, and resheeted over half of it. Put it all back together. I was spending money that I didn't think I was going to spend. And I've been around construction all my life. I sure swallowed that one. But they have a go on in business area. It was a hobby. So my wife and I had a good time doing it. We worked on a lot of it. We sat down and we'd go over the expenses and decide whether it was worth it or not. As it is, it would have been cheaper just to have took that house, demoed it, and maybe pull the double wide trailer, set it on the foundation there, or a new foundation, and sell it. We'd have been money ahead, and with a lot less work. But we enjoyed our time while we did it. I mean, we learned some valuable lessons, kind of late in life, obviously. We're not going to redo it and go buy another house to fix. But the biggest mistake came when we sold the house. I did it on a land contract. sold it to a couple. They weren't married, but they had children and had been together quite a while, and never owned a house before. And it wasn't, I didn't feel sorry for them or anything, but they seemed like a pretty nice couple. And they had kids ranging from about 4 years old up to 18, I think, 18 or 19 years old. So they've been together quite a while. The guy was kind of a BSer, but aren't we all? And the wife was the big breadwinner. She was a CPA. She had a good education. Their credit wasn't all that great, and that's why I ended up doing a land contract with them. I guess I'm going to save that part for another video because I want to explain a good heart sometimes can bring some bad times for you. Sometimes you pay dearly for that, and we learned a lesson there. Of course, we're up there in age where we won't make that mistake again. But even at that, when I sold the house, I figured I would never see the last payment because at my age, selling the house and financing it, I figured my kids would actually end up collecting the payments on that house, not my wife and I. But it's just a good way of putting your finances in there and kind of let it go, and your reward is a little extra money in your pocket every month that comes off the payments of it. You don't get rich doing one house like that, believe me, you don't. And I bought it and sold a lot of houses over the years, but this one here, I got nailed pretty good. Can't think of anything else. Some of you guys, if you've got something you want to talk about and I can go over it on here, we can do that. My field has been construction quite a bit. I do know a little bit about mechanics. Now, the last schooling I had on mechanics was back in the 60s, early 60s in the military. I was a truck mechanic in there that they made into a clerk by the time I got back to the States. And in the States, I ended up, even though I was in the 4th Infantry, I was TDY to the Air Force over at McCord Air Base. We were taking in missiles that needed to be tore apart, I guess you could say. And they had to have somebody with enough secret clearance to just look over it. And there was 2 other guys and myself that kind of watched over this stuff in the warehouse. Nothing earth-shattering, really easy job. The hardest job I had was making coffee in the morning. Other than that, it was the easiest job in the military probably you can get. Other than maybe if they tested you for sleep test or something. It was that easy. The right place, the right time. If any of you guys have some stories you want put on here, just put it down below in the comments. I'll look over them. If you kind of look over my comments, I try to answer as many as I can. Excuse me, I got cough yet. Today, for some reason, I've got extra phlegm in there today. Oh my. Every once in a while I can't get rid of it. So just bear with me a little bit. We'll try to get past it. I'm not trying to be so impolite like that, to drink in front of you or and try to talk with a frog in my throat. Oh, by the way, I sure like it with all these nicer comments on my channel. It seems to be getting a little better. I guess maybe by changing subjects, you get a different clientele come in and watch. I know of most of my subscribers that came in here were the type that don't swear or point fingers too bad. They come in for an honest review, and even though we've had difference in opinions, some of us, we didn't get into name calling or filling in each other's with words they didn't say, and I appreciate that. Anybody that's honest with their opinion and doesn't get into name calling is certainly welcome here. It's kind of like a bunch of old people getting together and curing the ills of the world. Well, I am going to put on my channel, I'm going to go over some things that have to do with characterization. I'm going to show you how to tell what a person is like by the way they act or react. Over all those years that I was out there in the business world, I went across literally thousands of people that I interfaced with one way or the other over all those years. And you have to learn how to evaluate them for the jobs that you're hiring. And part of that is personality traits. And there are some people out there that are very well qualified, but there's certain traits that you can't allow in a group of people. If they're being isolated away from themselves, they can fill certain spots for you. But you have to be careful, that's all. And I find more and more of that on the YouTube here than anyplace else. In my entire life, I've never been attacked as much as I have in the last 3 weeks. So by changing the subject, hopefully I'm changing enough people out there to they can go back to wherever they were, because whoever's friend they were, whew, they got some real I don't know what to call them, tell you the truth. They're not good neighbors. Other than that, I don't know what else I can do. I don't have any rhetoric to give you today. As you can see, I had my lights off one of the apartments. I turned my air conditioner on just about 15, 20 minutes ago. Well, it had to be 25 minutes ago. And it hasn't quite cooled off yet in here. Sometimes sitting with the lighting off, if you're on here, it cools off a little quicker. And it looks like it's only come down about 2 degrees. It got pretty warm in here. It's trying to knock on the door at 90 outside the garage. And obviously, the inside gets heated up pretty quick. Right now, mainly it's knocking out the humidity, I'm assuming, because it's comfortable. I'm not sweating. But it's still, in here, it's 80. So that's pretty warm. I hope you all have a good weekend. Hope everybody comes back. Hope you have a smile on your face. My biggest wish is that you'll put a smile on somebody else's face. And no, I'm not mad at anybody. So if you think I am, put your mind at ease. We'll just try to keep things on an even keel. Don't pick on me, I won't pick on you. There you go. Yeah, goodbye. Good luck. See you later.